We don't exactly have any corrections. We're perfect, although we've got to go through the Epic versus Google settlement again. So let's go ahead and start there. Let me give you the facts. So, of course, we record every Wednesday morning. So today's November 12th. All these news items come in at 10 o'clock the night before. So hopefully this is all still accurate. I read a multiple number of news sources, and they're all citing Law 360, which is a legal news publication that covers court proceedings. The U.S. court is currently not satisfied with the settlement between Google and Epic Games. We talked a lot about that last week. We'll get into some of the details again today. Apparently, the judge was just not buying it. Judge Donato is withholding approval of the proposed settlement, saying he wants to ensure the agreement truly addresses Google's antitrust violations. He made the pointed comment, this is my favorite. The only change circumstance that I can see right now is Epic and Google, two mortal enemies, have pounded each other relentlessly in this courtroom for many years, are suddenly BFFs. Oh, that was pretty funny. Then he also suggested that Google's appeals have been designed to drag out the case, so yet another year of harvesting its ill-gotten gains. A hearing is scheduled for December, maybe January, to review the matter further. So as of now, we are not in any place where this is going into effect. However, I think we still want to talk about it because it's the biggest news in mobile gaming. Personally, my take is I appreciate what Google and Epic are trying to do. I think they're trying to find a solution, trying to do what's right. However, I'm really glad that the judge asked for clarification. When we were doing our podcast, I was like, oh my God, am I getting this right or wrong? And then afterwards, I realized that thousands of game industry professionals felt like me and couldn't figure out exactly what was going on from the document. So this is just not ready for prime time. There's not a single explanation, as you will hear us argue about, and as we were arguing about before the podcast, as to what is the 9%, what is the 20%, how do alternative payments work, where is hard currency calculated, is it done through an API, do you have to change the game level, do you have to make a new app? In my humble opinion, I don't understand why cosmetics and game impacting IAP should be charged at different rates. I mean, that's just a whole philosophy. I'm like, I don't understand what that is. Cress, please. What are you hearing? Give me your take. I know you've been talking to Archie and a bunch of folks.
Yeah, Archie had a piece on LinkedIn and Andrew Patrick and I were going back and forth in Slack. And so I think, Archie kind of wrote a good piece on this pretty quickly. He's like, this is more of a sweetheart deal for Epic and a parachute for Google than a win for devs. And I think that kind of sums up the whole take on this. But I will admit there are some different interpretations that need to be made in terms of how this thing was brought down. But nonetheless, basically this selective fee reduction based upon the type of transaction it is, whether it's cosmetic or non-cosmetic, or I think what the word that they use specifically is de minimis gameplay advantage.
Oh.
Okay. De minimis gameplay advantage is kind of the big defining term needed. So anyway, the way I interpret what was said is that basically the 9% fee is only for benefits Fortnite. And in a lot of ways, because there's not many games that are just cosmetic only that do not have non-de minimis gameplay advantage. So this is a challenge. And then the other part that Archie actually suggested was that it is basically changing the nomenclature from payment fee to distribution fee. And so fundamentally that they will still command the 9 to 20% regardless of whether you're using Google Pay or not, if it's downloaded on the Google App Store. So this may actually undermine the direct-to-consumer models, according to Archie. And the only people that would benefit were those with developed app stores that customers are downloading the game specifically, and then those fees are lowered. So for him, it's a boon for Epic's platform ambitions, not really necessarily a good deal for the rest of the game developers. And Xsolla said kind of a similar thing. While it formalized alternative payments in third-party app stores, it does so under Google's continued control and it introduces a new service fee of 9 to 20%. For many studios, especially smaller ones, this undermines the independence the industry has been fighting for. So at the end of the day, this all feels like a huge benefit to Epic and not necessarily a benefit at all to the rest of the ecosystem.
We talk about what Archie said. What did Henry's kids say about this?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get them on the cast.
Yeah. I think they understand this as well as we do, to be honest.
No, maybe the segment is I bring in his kids to explain, intro all of the news articles, and then we banter about it. But Phil, I think you brought up some of the settlement language here. What do you have for us?
So I'd say first, just to reiterate what we talked about last week, the whole idea that you're going to separate gameplay and non-gameplay affecting items is completely asinine. And the only thing that I would say is beneficial is that hopefully Google hires an army of monetization consultants. I'm available. Give me a call. We can make a committee, a jury to determine this, but it's impossible. And I'm very confused on Epic's position because literally today we're already seeing V-Bucks in UEFN islands. And again, those V-Bucks can be spent for gameplay affecting items. So what a gameplay affecting or non-gameplay affecting item isn't determined at the point of sale. It's determined when you spend hard currency in many games. So that's going to be impossible to disambiguate. So no idea if Tim was involved, the lawyer's involved, Tim knows what's happening inside of his own product. So I'd say that's point number one, is this remains absolutely baffling and confusing. The other thing is I take issue, I think, a little bit with Archie's statement here, which is whether or not Google is going to be able to crawl back this direct-to-consumer revenue. The Google spokesperson, when they were speaking to The Verge, this gentleman named Jackson, mentioned that if a user chooses to pay through an alternative billing system, the developer pays no billing fee to Google. I find it very hard to believe that if I go into Monopoly Go and use the Xsolla web payment system, that suddenly Google is going to want to crawl back all this direct-to-consumer shit that's been happening. I find that impossible that's going to happen.
Yeah, but again, because
they'll do that.
But they changed the nomenclature. They changed it from billing fees to service fees. Right? So yes, they're not going to pay any billing fees, but they're going to pay this fucking service fee,
How are they going to enforce that, Eric? How are they going to enforce that? We've been doing web direct-to-consumer forever. I mean, Playtika's doing this, 2018? Now suddenly it's going to be back on the table for Google? Do you buy that?
Again, the whole controversy around this particular ruling is that this is a ruling for Epic. It's not a ruling for everybody else, right? This is like making Epic happy, but nobody else, because in this circumstance, it seems like Epic only cares about themselves. And so the only pause I have, and the pause that I work with when I was talking with Andrew Patrick, is that they just announced that UEFN is going to allow these type of purchases, right? This pay to win.
Yes, I'm working
thing
on them right now. I'm implementing them. You can do loot boxes in Fortnite again.
Yeah, and so this seems to be counterintuitive to this agreement that they've signed with Google. Having said that, if you believe what I believe, is that they will just basically do it at the product level, right? It doesn't matter what you buy for hard currency. It's just you do it at the product. It's either a 1 or a 0. You're either doing it or not doing it. They can basically designate whatever game they want any way they want, right? And so as part of this agreement, they basically say, look, Epic's in the clear for anything that they do, right? Done,
Yeah, I also read that you could go and relaunch your app in a sense. So what if they put Fortnite out without UEFN so that they disentangle those two things, and they could be like, look, clearly this entire app is just 9%. And they take that out. I mean, obviously they were working on that path and they didn't think they would get to where they were going to get to. But it's going to require a lot of people to go back and rework their apps. But I just don't understand, because most games, to your point, Cress, aren't cosmetic only, especially in the West. So what does this mean for everybody else? And the key question I think you guys are raising is, are web shops going to be hit by this fee or not? And people are arguing. And this is, when you have a rule that is going to impact the industry, I think we just need more clarification. And I would love for them to really think through all of these things before it just gets decided on by one judge in one city. That feels like a lot.
If Google and Epic are happy, then together, that means everyone else is pretty much fucked. That's kind of that seems pretty obvious,
Ironically, I think we're going to agree with Tim. Well, I actually agree with Tim a little bit later when we talk about AI voices. But all right, so we'll leave this one for now. Likely we'll come back and have a lot more news on there. So just really quick, the Game Awards are coming. So this is basically the industry's Academy Awards. It's going to be airing on December 11th. So new this year is that it's coming to Amazon Prime Video and also Twitch. It's already been on Twitch. I think this is in addition to YouTube. I usually watch it on YouTube. They're doing a big Fallout Season 2 collaboration. That was an awesome show. Best transmedia, right, Phil? Better than Halo. I think this is also on TikTok. It just shows you that the big tech companies they love themselves some media, but they don't love themselves some video game teams amidst all the layoffs we talked about last time.